Okay, 'tis the hour, so let's call the meeting of the Lebanon Planning Commission to order. Be standing for a flag salute, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Really quickly, just as a quick announcement, if I may, just a reminder to please speak very closely into the microphone. We have been having some troubles on our recording, picking up everybody's voices. So speak clearly, speak loudly, enjoy your microphone. It's your friend. And for roll call, just to make it quick, we have Commissioners Malloy and Miller absent, and we have recorded roll call.
That works. All right, agenda item number 1 is minutes, and we do not have any minutes to approve tonight. So we'll move to our next agenda item, which is citizen comments. Anybody with us this evening that wishes to address the Planning Commission on an item that is not currently on our agenda, I would invite you to come forward, sign in, and address the commission. Seeing no movement, then we will move on to our first public hearing, Planning File S-24-03. And let's turn it over to Trey first.
Oh, yeah. Tonight's hearing will be pursuant to the quasi-judicial procedures set out in ORS 197.797. At the start of each hearing, commission members will be asked to disclose any ex parte communications, conflict of interest, or bias. The applicable substantive criteria for this hearing will be addressed in the staff report. Testimony may be in oral or written form, but must be directed towards the criteria outlined in the staff report, the comprehensive plan, or the city's land use regulations. Any issue raised must be accompanied by statements and evidence sufficient enough to allow the commission and parties an opportunity to respond. Please note that failure to raise an issue, including a constitutional issue, by the close of the hearing will prevent an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So with that, then we will open public hearing S-24-03, subdivision Key Street, and ask the Planning Commission, is there any ex parte contact, conflict of interest, or bias that should be reported?
No.
Okay, not seeing any, then we will move on to staff report.
Before you tonight is a proposed subdivision at 810 Keys Street. At the last planning commission, I think it was the last planning commission, we did the annexation of this property, and before you tonight is a proposed subdivision of the property for a 5-lot subdivision. The proposal is to have 2 lots that would be facing onto Keys Street with 3 internal lots that would be accessed off of a access easement. Each lot would be approximately 5,000 square feet to meet the minimum lot area for a duplex or a single-family home. For the access easement, it would be provided for a 30-foot access easement to meet the requirement for either 6 dwelling units or 6 lots. As you can see on the proposal, it would include 3 duplex lots to provide up to 6 dwelling units. Meeting the maximum allowed on an access easement. In terms of easements provided on the property for the subdivision, you have the access easement, which decreases the lot area. And you also have the storm drainage easement, which is provided on the eastern side of the property. And that is the easements that are provided. It is a pretty straightforward subdivision. The driveways meet the separation requirements for a local roadway. Utilities are provided in Keys Street. There is an existing subdivision that was approved a couple of years ago by the Planning Commission. And so directly adjacent to this property, there are utilities in Keys Street as part of the subdivision. Those utilities would be extended through to the western property boundary line of the property. And to meet the street width requirements for Keys Street, there's also a property dedication requirement of 4.5 feet for the widening of Key Street. And that would align with the subdivision to the east of the property. It's, like I said, it's a pretty straightforward subdivision for the 5 lots. So the staff report has been provided, which provides all the decision criteria. With that, I'll conclude any report and answer any questions.
Just out of curiosity, so you mentioned the widening of Key Street. What's the timeline on that? I mean, because, Keys Street is much longer than that one parcel, so.
So this parcel will include the inclusion of a sidewalk. It will, this side of the street will be widened. And then as development occurs on the other side of the street, that side of the street will be widened to the full width. It's as development occurs.
Do we have any idea on that, or what it's going to look like in the meantime? Is it just going to be gravel or weeds or?
So it's as development occurs, the street is being widened. It is not a one-time expansion and a one-time project, right? So in the project directly to the east, land was dedicated. That project included the addition of sidewalks to expand the property to meet the street width requirements. So the driveway lane widths are provided already in Keys Street. What's missing is the sidewalks and the
Right.
landscape strips and all that kind of stuff, right? So the land that's being provided as part of the subdivision is the build out of that public improvement. So what's being provided here is the land for that public improvement for the sidewalks and curb and gutter and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, so.
I live off of Walker, so I'm just kind of having flashbacks to how that was, and it looks awesome now. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering what the trajectory is here for Key Street as a street, so.
It would be about the same. So without us having a big wheelbarrow full of money to do all these streets, this is how they're gonna develop. It's
Right.
unfortunate, but
Okay.
just how it's gonna go.
Any other questions? So I have one. On the background, it identifies lot size as 5,000 square foot net. In the applicant's narrative, none of the lots are 5,000.
Yes, the applicant's narrative was generous in reduction of net lot size area because it also included the storm drain easement area. But our code does not eliminate the storm drain easement area from net lot area. So he was including the reduction of the storm drain easement out of the lot area size.
So their net was just calculated
Yes,
incorrectly.
correct.
All right, then maybe another mistake. A couple of pages beyond that, they identify residential mixed density minimum lot size is 3,500 square foot.
That would be for like a zero lot line. So that is accurate for a type of development in a residential mixed density. But what is being proposed is a duplex. And so they're meeting the requirements for a duplex type development.
All right, any other questions? If not, then we would invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to come forward, sign in, state your name, please.
Hello, I'm Josh Mitchell. Nothing much to add to it. If there's any other questions I could answer for you guys, but pretty much just trying to add some additional housing.
So the assumption in the narrative is you're planning on duplexes, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else wishing to speak in what's the right word?
Favor?
Favor, there you go. In favor of the application, this is the time to come forward, give your testimony. Seeing no movement, anybody in opposition of the application? I remembered that word. All right, no movement, so we will go ahead and close the public testimony portion. All further discussion will be amongst planning commission and staff. So, any concerns? Has there been anything identified that would not meet the criteria?
No.
Right, so then I would assume if that answer is no, then the next question would be yes, that the criteria has been met. Right, then is anybody prepared to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve and move that the planning commission approve the proposed subdivision S-24-03, adopting the written findings contained in the staff report with the development conditions, and direct staff to draft an order decision incorporating the findings and conditions of approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, all of those then in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, thank you.
Josh?
All right, moving on to our second public hearing. That would be planning file AR-24-04, an adjustment to an already approved project. Any question, any ex parte contact, conflict of interest, or bias? Hearing none, then staff report.
All right. This is another pretty straightforward project. So before you tonight is an amendment to Administrative Review 23-04, which was brought forward to you last year associated with a package of application for a convenience store and gas station, along with a comprehensive plan map and zoning map amendments. With the approval of those projects, the property is now zoned mixed use. The proposal before you tonight is to amend the proposed project. The proposed amendment is to add 1,600 square feet approximately of additional future tenant space to the convenience store area, and include additional parking area and parking lot improvements to accommodate that additional square footage. In accordance with the modification to approved project procedures, the first step was to determine whether or not the project is considered a modification as identified in the staff reports based off of the criteria. This meets that. After that, the Planning Commission's role and responsibility is to review the project based only on the amendment proposal, which again is the addition and the modifications to the parking lot area. So the decision criteria is basically based off of, does the project meet the setback standards for the addition, and does it meet the parking requirements for the addition? The setback standards are met for the neighborhood commercial requirements that were applied for the convenience store building as applied in the mixed use zone. And so they meet the setback standards and the associated parking improvements, along with the overall parking requirements for the use have been met as well. And so the staff report includes the decision criteria and the findings associated with that. I'll conclude my staff report at this time and answer any questions.
Any questions? Kristen, you look like you have a question. Go for it. All right.
Keep it specific to this, and then you can ask questions during the.
All right. Then if there's no questions for staff, we will open the public testimony portion. Invite the applicant or the applicant's representative forward.
Good evening, Brian Vendetta, 63 East Ash Street, Lebanon, Oregon. As Kelly explained, it is in line with the previous approval. As far as the nature of the use, just adding some more space. My client realized after the approval that there was more footprint that could be achieved, and he wanted to take advantage of that. So I really don't have any further to add, but I would be willing to answer any questions if you might have some.
Any questions? All right. Thanks, Brian.
You bet. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the application? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition of the application? Seeing no movement, then we will close the public testimony. All further discussion will be amongst planning commissioners and staff. So any concerns at all? I guess my only question is, why did this not fall under a administrative review? It seems like it would be just a simple,
Our lovely development code, which I would love the opportunity to take a look at every once in a while, it says that for modifications of approved projects, it has to go before the original approving authority, which was you guys.
okay? So any concerns? Is anybody prepared to make a motion? Did you actually have a question, Kristen? Okay.
I think I was trying to see it, and it looked like I was thinking really hard.
I move that the planning commission approve the proposed administrative review AR-24-04, adopting the written findings contained in the staff report with the development conditions, and direct staff to draft an order of decision incorporating the findings of conditions of approval.
Second.
All right, then motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor then, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. I guess it wouldn't be the same sign, it'd be a nay. Anyway, motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you. All right, moving on to commission business and comments.
So a couple of quick updates for you all. We are well underway for our updates for code amendments associated with the housing production strategy. We will have our first project advisory committee meeting in July 16th, something like that. And associated with that, we will be hosting a joint planning commission and city council meeting on August 14th at 5 p.m. I will send out an email reminder. But August 14th at 5 p.m., joint city council and planning commission meeting. That will simply be an update of where we're at, what is being discussed as part of the overall proposed code updates in general, just to give you guys a temperature read and update of what the project advisory committee is overall proposing for those updates.
Did you say 5 PM on that?
5 p.m. Yeah.
And that will be here.
That will be here. And at this point in time, we do not have any applications for the next planning commission meeting. So we will not have a meeting in July unless you all have an discussion item that you would like to put on the agenda. But Ron and I are going on vacation in July and would love it if we don't have to have a meeting separately.
Good call.
For the record.
Say that again.
Separately.
Or you could just see the wheels turning around.
In different countries for the fact.
Yeah, be sure that makes the minutes. Could we get an update on the traffic light at Stoltz Hill?
Yes, you can. So we signed right away last week. So we have all the right of way. We are going to do a final review of drawings probably in the next week or two. My goal is to get it out this fall. We were going to try for the summer, but just looking at the constructability of it and the lead time on poles, we'll get the poles ordered. And then the road closure on Airport Road will happen next summer after, and it'll kind of all tie together after school's out. But I don't want to close the road. Airport will, well, school's in session, we'll have a mess, so.
So how does that line up with the application we just had?
It's going to be real close on how this all goes together. So we've been working with them on the store, the existing Grandpa's Grocery right now because of closures and stuff, and it really would have closed his business while we're out there. So if we can do it with flaggers, a little bit here and there, and get our materials ordered, because there's about a 9-month lead time on signal poles. By the time he's pretty much done constructing that over there, hopefully the last thing we have to do is the paving and put the signal up, operational. And hopefully it ties in pretty close. We've been coordinating. So,
Okay, cool.
but yeah, that's the plan at this point. It's taken forever, so we'll get there. But we just did right away last week.
So second question. This is on the subdivision application we had tonight. The verbiage as far as the fire hydrant and the fire marshal's approval, is that a discretionary thing on the fire marshal's part?
No, so the fire hydrant, the additional language that we put in that, the original layout that they had for the subdivision was actually flipped. So the original discussion that we had, they did not trigger a fire hydrant. But they flipped the layout, and there's what's called a hose pole requirement where you have to be at least, I'm going to get the length wrong, but 600 feet from, I didn't get it wrong, 600 feet from a fire hydrant. And in their original layout, they met that. In their new layout, they didn't. And so we just wanted it to be memorialized within the conditions that it was clear that they were triggering that fire hydrant. It is clear in code, but we just wanted it to be fully communicated.
Okay, and I'm trying to put my finger on it. The wording in the material kind of made it sound like that the fire marshal has final discretionary approval. In other words, it kind of made it sound like if I don't like it, you got to do it over.
In terms of like the final exact location of where it will be placed, he does have the discretionary approval.
And that's when so you can get a 600-foot hose pole, but they won't be able to hook up to it. So the discretionary piece about that in code is where they put it on the street or where it's accessible to.
So if it's on one side of the driveway or the other side of the
Yeah.
driveway, where within the sidewalk.
Yeah, the way it was worded, it was almost kind of like, go ahead and put it in. If I like it, I'll approve it. If I don't, I won't.
It's mostly during the plan check stage, not during the installation stage. Yeah,
It just was worded funny.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll work on that.
Oh, well,
It's like
yeah. I'm going to sold to the city engineer. Anything else? Interesting article in the paper about Dairy Queen. The Lebanon Local had an article.
A while ago?
Nobody saw it?
If it was the one from a little while ago.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I was only made aware of it this week.
Oh, okay.
I assumed it was recent.
Yeah,
You're talking about the one where the guy was slamming the city of Lebanon for its cost and stuff?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah, good luck.
Sorry,
For those of us that missed it, what was
I'll share it with you.
it was a general,
Oh, you didn't see it either?
the article is just a general article about the cost of construction. Wasn't Lebanon specific, it was Oregon specific. The gentleman is trying to build in Oregon in multiple locations and identified that it's cheaper to build in Texas. And so he's moving forward to build his location in Texas and waiting for the economy to change in Oregon before he decides to build in Oregon, and identified specifically our fees because they asked Lebanon local, did a public records request of what our fees are, which is in line with most other cities and what their fees are. And it's the cost of construction and making sure that we're being good stewards of our community. And it's expensive to build, so it's,
And like, namely, they didn't like these.
yeah.
But
When you're adding that many cars because you're doing a drive-through, you're impacting our street system, so.
Well, he'll sell a lot of ice cream. But I was kind of curious about those trees that were there where that Dairy Queen's gonna go. Do they have to have a permit to take those trees out?
They don't, not here. We, as part of the development approval, you identify that you're going to remove it, and as part of our landscape review, we identify that you're going to replace them with more than what you're removing, basically.
Do you think his plans are to take them all out? That little
I mean,
grove?
if you look at his development is right over where that grove is, and it's all concrete and building. And then he has a decent perimeter of landscaping with a fairly large area of it, landscape area, so he will have enough perimeter trees to replant, but he won't be able to keep many.
One of the things I was going to comment on is, I think there's, one of the hardest concepts for people to understand and to recognize are the SDC fees. I find a real general misunderstanding as to what those are and why they're imposed. I don't know if there's something as far as educational, because once you explain it to people, they understand it, but until they actually sit down and walk them through why this is the way it is.
Yeah.
But once you explain it to people, they kind of understand it, and I guess that makes sense. But that's the one thing that I found most people have a general misunderstanding of.
So if you want to read it, just Google Lebanon local, and then that'll take you to the website, and search Dairy Queen.
They'll make you subscribe to the online paper.
Or if you already have a subscription and then you forget your password every damn time.
It's cheap. It's like $20 a year or something like that.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order?